What is Pirsumei Nissa? Yeah, Pirsumei Nissa, does it exist? Which mitzvahs have Pirsumei Nissa? So, interestingly enough, Pirsumei Nissa is a Rabbanan factor, right? The sages instituted Pirsumei Nissa. We don't know why. We can't say, well, I know the reason for this mitzvah d'oraisa. You eat matzah, you sit in the sukkah, okay? You bring the bikurim. That's not Pirsumei Nissa. But Chazal added, for example, one aspect of Hanukkah, of Pesach, that is the Rabbanon is what? Not matzah, not maror, not korban Pesach, but what? You said it? 4 cups. So that is an aspect of Pirsumei Nissa, because the sages instituted that we drink wine at the Seder, and we drink a certain quantity. So that's Pirsumei Nissa. The most well-known mitzvah that is connected to Pirsumei Nissa, apparently this is the essential act, is lighting Hanukkah candles. Okay, Pirsumei Nissa, right? Right? So, Pirsumei Nissa, you have to light the Hanukkah candles. Let me ask you about the 4 cups of wine. You're sitting at a Seder. Everybody's celebrating Passover. You have your Korban Pesach there in front of you. You're wrapping it up into a sandwich like Hillel, even though we hold you're not supposed to. You're eating your charoses and your maror, right? Your matzah, right? You know why you're saying this? Because God smote the Egyptian firstborn and took us out of Egypt. But the sages said you have to drink wine to be mefarsing the nace. You know, it's not enough that you're eating all this in memory of what happened. The Korban Pesach, al Shuma, al Shumshe Pasach, al Bati Avusenu, right? And then you sing a Hallel. Thank you, God, for miracles of taking us out of Egypt. So what's the Pirsumei Nissa or Hanukkah? Is there anybody in this world who doesn't know about Hanukkah? You have to light Hanukkah candles so that your wife, what is Pirsumei Nissa, by the way? So to all the other Jews on the street, when I light those Hanukkah candles outside my my yard, in 2 weeks' time, right? That's to publicize to all my neighbors who aren't doing the same exact thing that tonight and the next 7 nights are Hanukkah, right? So you see these candles, you know about the nace.
I guess to what
That's to remember.
We know about it already.
Okay.
To make it really stand out.
Well, I think that Tzitzis and Tefillin and Mezuzah and everything connected to Tzias Mitzrayim is Laman Tizkor, right? Everything is Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. By the way, matter of fact, everything that's even not connected to the Exodus, you keep Shabbos and all the Yom Tovim. When you say Kiddush, it's Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, right? And then you say that in your prayers and your Tefillin and your Talis, and when you give tzedakah, right? Everything is Zecher. I understand Zecher because about appreciation of what God did to you, because this is actually the first thing I ever wrote. You are human. It's what have you done for me lately? If you were to not have Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim, you would forget about it. You'd become ungrateful. So I understand the whole Zecher L'Tzias Mitzrayim. Everything has to focus on that because that's the turning point. That's the basis of our entire, our connection with us and God. Anochi Hashem Elokecha, who created the heavens and the earth. I created the universe, right? That's what God said it when he built himself on Sinai, right? No, he did not. He said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, Asher Otzeiticha Me'eretz Mitzrayim. He did not say Asher Barasi Yisa Olam. Okay, he wouldn't have said that by Asher Barasi is a Shemayim Vesa Aretz. That's what he should have said. But instead he's and the Kuzari also. Okay. We relate to God because he's the God of our history. Okay. We keep the commandments because he took us out of Egypt. We remember that. What I was talking about is Pirsumei Nissa. Chazal instituted Pirsumei Nissa. What is Pirsumei Nissa? Pirsumei Nissa means when you light the candles that others see it. You haven't done Pirsumei Nissa if you don't at least have someone else who's looking. So they say, if you're forced to light candles because of persecution, you light it on the table in your house. Who has to see it? B'nai Bayis. B'nai Bayis referring to your wife. Okay? It's like asking the questions of your wife. I've seen older couples, they actually didn't want their grandkids around. They were tired. They must have been pushing 90. They had a Seder all to themselves at their little table, and it was very cute. Sometimes that works. So what's Pirsumei Nissa? What's the point of it? I'll first give the answer for the 4 cups. Ready? Pirsumei Nissa is everything you do at the Seder, you could do because of the mitzvah. God told me I have to eat this. God told me I have to eat. Everything is eating, by the way. All the mitzvahs at the Seder are eat this and eat that. There are 4 eatings, which are zecher of something, right? Charoses is the additional eating. There's Pesach, Matzah, and Moror, and you have to put in charoses into it. That's a mitzvah. And they all commemorate something. So you remember that. Pirsumei Nissa means you got to make it personal. Say, and now I'm a free man. When you eat matzah, that's not derech chirus, right? If you're mesubin, it is sort of derech chirus. But eating matzah and maror and charoses is not chirus. Matter of fact, that's what a slave eats, right? You have to dip your maror in something, right? And you have a little bit of meat. But what's the derech chirus? Drinking 4 cups of wine, chai, or mazuk yafez. That's derech chirus is a large quantity of wine. A free man who actually has internalized the lesson, has gone beyond the next stage, actually is drinking wine. So too, I know about the Maccabean revolt, and I'm going to say Hallel. What's the main mitzvah of Hanukkah, by the way? Hallel. All 8 days you have to say Hallel. That's the mitzvah d'Rabbanan. At night, we have to do Pirsumei Nissa. In the morning, you say Hallel because you have to thank God for the miracle. So what is Hanukkah about? Well, Hanukkah is, I read the history. We don't know what happened on Hanukkah, right? So you thank God. The problem is, the thing I realized last year, when Hanukkah rolls around, too many Jews are now, and they don't realize it, they're on the side of all those who would have been opposed. If Yehuda Maccabee were here today, let's say there was a Jewish movement, they were fundamentally religious fundamentalists who advocate destroying our enemies, taking all their spoils, and forcefully retaking the Temple Mount and reinstituting the temple service today, by hook or by crook. And they're going to establish a Jewish monarchy. Who would be for that? Well, last we saw that the Agudists are against that. They even put out a thing basically saying that they are against it without realizing it. And anybody who's secular and wants to maintain the status quo is like that. And any Jews who are not in favor of overthrowing the regime are like that. And any Jews who are into, we have to fight the current war the way it is because Sahel makes the rules and all that. Basically, they're what?
What if you're for it, but only if it has a chance of succeeding?
It doesn't matter. You still have to try. The Maccabees.
No, I think you should try as long as you think there's a realistic chance.
Yes.
They obviously had a good
Hold on a
chance.
second. It is realistic. You know what made it realistic? Because they had bitachon. Okay? That's what did it. Rabin Bad Ma'atim. Okay, on paper, they should have lost. I don't know if you think it's realistic, but I do know that anybody who tries to just keep the Torah as it is and do what God says, that's the most realistic. That's the whole point.
Well, they won because of 2 reasons. One is that they had practical reasons anyway.
Yeah.
That Antiochus had to be called to a different front in the
different theater. Yeah.
And at the very end, they ended up securing the deal politically by
With
an
Romans.
alliance with the Roman Republic. So this was that's what was how they pieced it together. Obviously, it wasn't without any kind of outside capability that they didn't do it.
Okay.
They had practical.
You haven't been listening to what Dr. England is pointing out. So too in our situation, you don't know who's going to come with alliance. You don't know what's going to hit the Iranians. What internal wars are going on among our enemies. Your job is to do your job. Okay, that's the whole point. You can't say, "Well, I have to make sure that there's other factors that I don't know about that are lined up."
Like I don't want to do a President Young of Korea and then call something.
Okay,
and fail.
But sometimes I know you don't want to fail. So that means when a Jew says, "I want to do the right thing, but I'm afraid of failure," that means you're lacking bitachon. Okay, that's what it means.
Did Rabbi Yeshua lack bitachon?
Rabbi Yeshua.
In the time of Bar-Kokhba?
Maybe. Rabbi Akiva was basically that's why. What does the Rambam say? Rabbi Akiva demonstrates to us how we should think. Yeah, you had to go with that. Of course, why they give up on Bar Kokhba? Because Bar Kokhba himself went off the derech. Okay, I was talking about if you have someone who's on the derech.
He failed.
No, he failed when he went off the derech, as I'll say. First, he went off the derech. What was his prayer in the morning? His prayer for success? God, just stay out of it. I'll do my part. You don't get involved. I can do this on my own. Okay? That was Bar Kokhba, by the way. Yes, Bar Kokhba went off the derech. Okay? Yeah. Bigly, as Trump would say. Bar Kokhba went off the derech, but this is in history. If you want, we could discuss more of the history. My point was that Pirsumei Nissa means I actually believe in this. Okay? I'm showing everybody I'm a part of this. That's what the Pirsumei Nissa is about. So when you light Hanukkah candles for Pirsumei Nissa, you're saying, yes, this is what Rabbi Talbis, when the first thing he talked about is, the first thing he talked about in Hanukkah, who's Rabbi Talbis? Rabbi Michael Talbis, or maybe he calls himself Michael now. Rabbi Talbis, he should be healthy, is now in his second stint as head of the YU High School for Boys in New York. He was called principal. I think they have a different title, but he's in charge. He was principal when I was there, and then he took a break. He was doing something else. Now he's principal again. I think he's gotten a promotion, something within YU itself. He's also the Rav of a synagogue in Teaneck. So this thing he told us back in 96. How long ago was that? 28 years ago. Okay? So Rabbi Talbis is pretty holding. He asked this question. Butler Megillus Tinus, right? Megillus Tinus, all those holidays instituted in Second Temple times, except for Hanukkah, right? That's the one they instituted that stuck. So how long after the Hanukkah miracle was the Second Temple destroyed? About 230 years, 240 years, somewhere. 235 by my calculation. Okay? So it's already gone. Like the Rambam says, Chazar Malchus Yisrael, Yisrael B'Sayim Shana. But then the base of Mikdash and the Malchus is gone. So maybe Hanukkah should be gone also. Good question. Why are we still celebrating the re-inauguration of the Second Temple, but it's been lying in ruins for almost 2,000 years? They got the temple back for 200, and they lost it for 2,000. I think that we're pretty much on the losing side, right? They were still celebrating Hanukkah as a Pirsumei Nissa. So what's going on? The answer, because the message of Hanukkah is still alive if you actually believe in it. Just, all the opposition we have today to reinstituting the temple politically could be pushed aside, or could have pushed aside Yehuda Maccabee. If Yehuda Maccabee had been around today, how many people within Judaism, enemies within, enemies without, or even those who are actually observant Jews, how many of them would have gone along with it? Just to know, I don't think many of us, maybe myself included, would have gone along with this. I'm trying to make myself the type of person who would have. But I don't know if I have the bravery for it. What? Oh, good. Stupidity? Okay, fine. Maybe I'm not smart enough and they're not stupid enough. I don't know what it is I lack. Yeah. Okay. I don't know what it is that I lack, but I pray, at least when I light the Hanukkah candles, I'm realizing that it wasn't a one time they could do it, but we can't. If there was a Yehuda Maccabee or a Mashiach, let's say, around now, who's advocating for the same things that Yehuda Maccabee was, I pray that I would have the courage and the bitachon. What's the difference between courage and bitachon? If you have bitachon, you probably get courage. Okay? You need it first. Yeah, there are people who have courage. Yeah, but they don't do it because of God. I know. So, yeah. So I want both. Okay, that's what did Moshe Rabbeinu tell Yeshua twice, and what do the people tell Yeshua when he took over? Chazak ve'amatz. What does that mean? Well, amatz is be courageous and bold. No, courageous and bold, they're synonyms. That's the amatz. What's chazak? First chazak. So it says, we'll close with this and then we'll get into the Rambam. We have a similar war which we mentioned last week. Who was it? Yoav and Avishai are surrounded. It's twice in Tanakh. They're surrounded by the forces and the mercenaries Hadadezer. Everybody's gathered up against them, right? And they realize that they're seriously outnumbered. So what do they got to do? Anybody remember? What? They have to fight. So they divided up. And they had to, was it Chazak? I want to find the exact pasuk in here. Here's what Yoav said. Chazak v'nit chazak ba'adamenu v'adorei Eloheinu v'adonai ya'aseh tov b'aynav. Okay? Just be strong. Chazak v'nit chazak. Kan. Here is a reference to what we've been discussing now. Bitachon. Okay? It says, Vayitchazek David ba'Hashem Elokav. He was strengthened with the Lord his God. It says the Amalekites they basically plundered Ziklag. That was King David's city before he was king, right? Took away all the wives and children and all their property while the men were at war. And they're crying, and what they want to do? They wanted to lynch David. He's the leader. Ata Rosh Ata Hashem, which is true, by the way.
Oh, they also took hostages.
And they also took hostages. That was like, and they're basically telling David, which correctly, you're in charge here. So, look, maybe we're not going to kill you, we're not going to lynch you, but you certainly do not belong to be in charge if we've suffered such catastrophic failures because of you. So it says David strengthened himself. When Moshe Rabbeinu told Yeshua Chazak ve'amatz, he's first telling him, be strong in God. That means have full bitachon, trust in God, and then ve'ematz, and then be brave. Okay, once you have that proper bitachon, you could be brave, or we say have some courage. So I would imagine that someone who has proper bitachon, it's easier for him to have courage. Some people just have stupid courage because they're courageous or they're just not afraid of anything. Well, or let's say Jews. I know a lot of brave Jews. They're not tzaddikim, or they're just youngsters, but they have a lot of courage. Thank God. It's something you have. When you get older, you get a little more safe, and you realize about risks. Okay, if you have more to lose, but when you're younger, you take more risks. But then you have actual chazak v'nit chazek, real bitachon. So you need that. So that's why I would hope that if a Maccabean figure were to arise today, and that's what we believe, by the way, that's what a Messiah figure basically is. And we always believe that this thing can happen. So I'd hope we go along with it. Pirsumei Nissa says, I am on board with the Maccabean program. And I hope everybody else is on board also. This could happen again. We trust in God. And the problem is too many of us sit back, or we're just opposed to this. Like I said, there are too many people. All the arguments against, let's say, moving to Eretz Yisrael back in 100 years ago and founding a Jewish state, which are inherently good things. And it's a shame that the seculars were the ones who took those mitzvahs, those orphan mitzvahs, have been applied to, let's say, going back to the Temple Mount today. So you should go there.